welcome to Project A3 Reviews. I'm Michael and this time I will review I guess this is a quite hyped IM from Kbear. This is the Kbear Believe. And why this is quite hyped? Because it is using a pure beryllium driver at a very affordable price. I mean, you have seen some pure beryllium driver IMs with sky-high price like Final A8000 and also Dunu Luna, but this Kbear Believe is using pure beryllium driver with a price only at around 180 US dollars. So yes, this is the most affordable pure beryllium driver that you could find in the market right now. And even someone have tried to open it and it is indeed a beryllium driver, I guess. Well, I'm not really an audio technician, but anyway, let's get into the review. So I will review this IM from the build, fit, sound, and comparison. Let's start from the build itself. I think this is I think you cannot get better than this. There are a lot of IMs like Moondrop KXXS or this Kbear Believe where I believe that you cannot get any better than this. I mean this housing is already a bit heavy. It has metallic feeling to it. It is made of metal. The filter it's looking good. It has very robust and thick nozzle. Also the 2-pin connector feels very secure and the cable itself is quite thick, braided, and yeah, overall from head to the bottom, I think this IM is really good in build quality itself. And when it comes to the fit, I think yeah, for my small Asian ears, although this seems quite a big IM, I could wear them for hours. So this is really comfortable for my ears, and also I don't find any sharp edges on this IM. Yeah, it's just simply good, and of course you also need a very good fit for it to make sure that you can hear the good bass from them. Also, the cable itself and the overall weight is quite heavy, but I don't find any discomfort from this weight. So yeah, it is overall a very good IM in terms of build and fit. Now, the most important part, how is it sound? How's the sound? Okay, I will use my VO BTR5 and also X-Duo X10 and i5 XDSD as my source. And from my balance benchmark, the Harman target, also I'm using my neutral target, DF neutral. This IM still feels a bit warm and somehow V-shaped is because sometimes I could hear a recessed mid-range, but overall this is definitely a warm IM. Let's start from the bass, which I think this is very good, but not in the way that I expected. I mean, when you hear pure beryllium driver, what goes into your mind? When I hear pure beryllium, I think about speed, transient speed, and also very good resolution and maybe a not really big bass. But on the contrary, this Kbear Believe give me a very good punch with a lot of quantity. So yes, this is a very punchy IM with thick low end, with thick punch that will, yeah, I mean bass head will also like them. And that's definitely different from what I'm thinking of pure beryllium driver. But anyway, I just treat it as a dynamic driver IM. Okay, and then the mid-range itself is also thick with a lot amount of depth in for male vocal, but for my personal preference, I think it lacks a little bit of female vocal shines right there, a little bit more light in the female vocal. For example, when I hear vocals like Cindian or Joyce Chu, or Taeyeon or IU, it needs a lot of upper mid energies with a lot of sweetness there to make them sounds more open. But in this Kbear Believe, I think they sounds a little bit too thick, but still in a good way. I don't find any sharp edges, I don't find any shoutiness or sibilance here. but it's just a little bit too thick for my preference. Just for telling you that my preference for good female vocal is like in the moondrop KXXS. I just like the moondrop KXXS, but this Kbear Believe mid-range is very clean and clear, although it is thick. So it is a very rare trait that I found at this price range. When I hear some IMs with a thick low end and thick mid-range, usually it tends to get a little bit muddy. But in this Kbear Believe, I don't find that. In fact, the pronunciation, the articulation of the vocal is very clear. Although, like this I said, I don't really think that female vocal is quite suitable for this Kbear Believe. And when it comes to the treble, this is a very relaxing IM. Don't get me wrong, this is not a dark sounding IM that has no extension or air in the upper frequencies, but it only gives some emphasis on the lower treble instead of the upper treble. So, I mean, when you hear cymbal crash, you hear guitar or strings at the high frequencies, you can still find them quite sound natural in this Kbear Believe. But it is simply not thin enough, not bite. There's no bite enough like maybe in Lindsay Stirling or Celine Roschek or in some movie orchestral soundtrack. It lacks some bite into it, so it just sounds relaxing and a little bit thick. But anyway, it still sounds natural for my ears, just lacking a little bit of extension and also air in the upper frequencies. But overall, the tonality is very pleasant, and I still think this is a quite all-rounder type of tonality. Now, how about the technicality? Surprisingly, they are also good, even though they sound thick like I said. The bass just give a lot of depth to the soundstage. So yeah, when I hear some movie soundtracks like Hans Zimmer sound, Hiroyuki Sawano, or some Yuki Kajiura soundtrack, I feel that this Kbear Believe could give a really good three-dimensional imaging to it with a good separation. Well, this is quite a good thing because, like I said before, that I don't imagine that this kind of thick IM could give such detail, such cleanness to it. But this Kbear proving me wrong that this kind of IM exists. Now, about the comparison, how is it compared to some of the competitors at similar price point? Okay, starting from this moondrop KXXS, let me tell you before that this moondrop KXXS is my benchmark for IM around $200 price point, because it is simply my perfect preference for how IM should. I mean, the tonality is just suit my preference as a benchmark. Like some of you have already know, maybe the KXXS is definitely Harman neutral IM. Compared to Harman neutral IM like KXXS, Kbear definitely has more weight and punch in the low and also thicker mid-range. But for me, the female vocals sound more open and airy and sweet in this KXXS. The treble is also, for me, they are both have relaxing treble, not really extended. But for me, simply the KXXS has better air to it and a little bit better extension. But let me tell you that Kbear sounds more clean. Yeah, the background is just cleaner in the Kbear, and sometimes I do hear a little bit of better detail retrieval in this Kbear Believe, although it sounds thicker. Compared to it, the KXXS, although it fits my preference better, but KXXS is a little bit more dirty compared to this Kbear Believe. And how is it compared to tanchjim Hana? For my ears and my source, tanchjim Hana is one of the cleanest IM at its price point too. But there's a difference. I think Hana is like more of it sounds clean but the upper mid is more forward, so female vocal sounds more forward, but with overall thinner voice. So it's, I think it's a little bit, the Kbear Believe is more masculine compared to the more feminine Hana. It's just what my hero say. And yes, Hana could get a little bit harsher than Belief sometimes, but overall for me, with the right source, they are both a very clean sounding IEMs. It's just one is a little bit thicker, one is simply thinner. And how is it compared to the 3i3? Now here's the interesting thing. 3i3 has 3 drivers with thick sounding too, but Kbear Belief managed to give more detail. Although they are both they are both thick, but 3i3 is a bit thicker, but in the Kbear Belief is more clean and more detailed, even though it is using only a single driver. So yeah, for me, Kbear Belief, is it a giant killer? I don't think so, because when I'm comparing it with the tanchjim Oxygen is simply more detailed, even cleaner, and even better separation. So I think this Kbear Belief is good at its price point. It is one of the, maybe if you want a warm sounding IM with thicker low end and thick mid-range, and overall a relaxing thick IM, this Kbear Belief could be a very good suggestion for you. But it is not a giant killer, it is simply good at its price point. So it doesn't exceed my expectation. It is good in its own way. It's not a giant killer, but it is simply a good IM. So I think that's all for this episode. I hope you like this review, and see you next time. Bye bye.